Hey, what's up, everybody? Crapgamer here, Crapgamer Reviews. Thank you, guys. It is another blistering hot day here in Florida. I wanted to do a video. Main reason I wanted to do a video was because there was a lot of things that I wanted to talk about, and there was some, new things that came up that I kind of wanted to talk about that I didn't get a chance to cover yesterday. So if you guys are joining me right now, go ahead and like this video, share it out, all that kind of good stuff. I would appreciate that. Thank you guys for spending a little bit of time with me. I'm going to be answering some questions and doing that kind of fun stuff as well. So make sure you guys go ahead and think of some good questions, or if you guys got some stuff you want to talk about, hey, I'm always there to kind of talk about this stuff with you guys as well. So the first thing I really kind of wanted to talk about was this Remedy Entertainment situation, which if you guys didn't hear, well, you know what? It just happens to know that Remedy is rumored to have some kind of deal with Sony right now, which I did link that below so you guys can check that out. And you guys might think, hey, you know what? Who cares? Remedy sucks. Well, most of us actually liked Remedy games at a particular point when it came to their games and stuff like that. I see somebody talking about the Obsidian contract. That was pretty cool too. You know what I mean? The Obsidian thing that happened last night during Xbox Nation, and I was pretty happy to kind of talk about that and just kind of have a good time, just talking, shooting the breeze with you guys about these different things. I love the breaking news and stuff like that. We are going into, I guess, what's considered to be a little bit of a slower period in gaming news, but hey, there's still plenty to talk about, and that's what I'm here to do as well. Also, a little bit of Lionhead news with the Fable stuff. That was something that I want to talk about. I was going to make a video specifically for that, but I decided, hey, why not? If I'm here right now, talk about it right now. As you guys are coming in and shuffling in, please like and share it out. I would appreciate it. So anyway, this is actually has to do with Yoshida actually traveled to visit Remedy, and it's very interesting because he took some picture with them and things like that. And he said thank you for letting me see the office. You have a beautiful office. I had lots of fun. Can't wait for the release of Control in August. So with that, as you guys know, the Remedy creator, who they made Quantum Break, but Microsoft owns that IP. Remedy themselves actually visited Naughty Dog and Insomniac Games, one right after the other. And Sony usually has these type of collaborations. Like, why would they let a studio collaborate? So this is just kind of rumor right now, but Sony has talked about purchasing studios and things like that. So they did let them see Naughty Dog, and they did visit with Insomniac Games. So it could be, even though Insomniac is second party, very much a speculative type thing right now, but it could be very interesting to see if they did indeed sort of partner up, or at least have some kind of game to showcase with one another. You know what I mean? I think that would make a very, to be honest with you, right? As much as I like Remedy games, which I do like Remedy, I find it that the possibility of Remedy having a partnership with Sony to be much more of a sane thing than Microsoft and Remedy. Microsoft hates single player games. They never ever make single player games anymore, right? Whereas, Sony, they do single player games. That seems to be their forte. And not only is that their forte, but that's something that they thrive on and strive on. And that's something they might be able to take into next generation, excuse me, and take that for a win, right? If you think about it, because look at all the big third party publishers, even they're not doing like the big single player. It's a big deal when EA does that Jedi Fallen Order game because it's single player only. So if that's such a big deal, Sony has this kind of their hooks in this into this kind of genre. So I find that to be very interesting. Hey, what's up, everybody? I appreciate you. As you get in here, please like and share and all this kind of stuff. I would like to get to 100 likes rather quickly. It helps get the word out and stuff like that. So it would mean a lot to me if you guys could do that for me. Thank you guys so much. But yeah, I do find that to be interesting. It makes a big bunch of sense to me, so that they would team up. And there is a rumor going around that in fact might happen sooner rather than later, and that's why that they're visiting and stuff like that. So kind of file that one into the maybe file, because I think that that's something that could definitely happen sooner rather than later. And I think that, I actually don't blame Microsoft, right? Because even though I like Remedy, I think that it's one of those things where Microsoft didn't really support them very much with Quantum Break. There wasn't a whole lot in the terms of ads and things like that. Not only did they not really support them with Quantum Break, but Alan Wake as well. Microsoft has the publishing rights to that, but they refused to really do anything with it. They refused to get another game going. And it turns out like it looks like Phil Spencer just was not a huge fan of that franchise. So that is a little bit unfortunate as well. Hey, what's up, Beaver? What's up, EDM? What's up, Squeamish Cub? I appreciate you guys coming out here and checking out a video. Please like it and all that kind of good stuff. Share it out if you wouldn't mind. We're going to have a good time. Why the heck not, right? So the other thing I wanted to talk about was early on. I mean, I got a few things. This is almost like a mini Crap Gamer podcast. So just hang on. Hold on to your butts if you wouldn't mind. The NPDs came out as well. We had the May 2019 NPDs, and Switch wins again. That really shouldn't come as a surprise because the Switch is newer hardware and kind of is its own thing, and Microsoft and Sony, obviously the Xbox One and PS4 respectively, have been around for a long time, despite the fact that there's a Pro and a Xbox One X. I said this a while ago, right? I said people don't drop what they're doing mid-generation just because you've upgraded your console. And that prediction came out to be true, right? A lot of people thought, maybe even myself, for a little bit anyway, that the Xbox One X would come out there and do gangbusters and really do a good job. But realistically, that didn't happen. The Xbox One X, best console I've ever owned, hands down. But what's the incentive to actually buy that thing? If you think about it, there's not a whole lot going on there, for one thing. But the other thing is that just Microsoft hasn't offered any real good games to buy for it, and that's been a problem there this entire generation. You can have a great platform, but people aren't going to give up what they've gamed the entire generation on to go play your thing if it's just multi-plats. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. So the NPD group said that Xbox One came in dead last and was actually dragging down the competition. Nintendo Switch continues to do better year over year, and it outsold the competition in both units and dollars. Hardware spending fell 20% year on year, because the Xbox One kind of drug down everything. The Switch sales were the only ones that were really up. Obviously, like the different things were kind of pointed that way. Like I wouldn't expect the Xbox One to do this bad. Like we've been hearing that it's been doing bad for a little while now. I honestly did not expect it to be doing, according to this, like this bad year over year. But here it is, it's doing incredibly bad. And not only that, but what's Microsoft going to do in realistic terms? What can they do to turn things around? I don't even know that there is anything that they could actually go out there and do. The main reason is who's going to buy an Xbox One at this particular point, right? Like, I'm just not sure that it's something that somebody's going to go out and go, oh, let me get an Xbox One right now. It's literally the worst looking or worst time to buy a console if you're a gamer right now, because we have these other these other consoles being made, and they're about to come out next year. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it doesn't make a lot of sense to buy a console right now. If somebody were to ask me, hey, should I buy a console? I'd probably tell you, you might as well wait. Reason why you might wait is just because we're going to get new consoles next November anyway. So just doesn't make sense to, have a console and spend, $300, $400, $500 when you literally can just wait a year and a half and get the next gen, quote unquote, of consoles and just kind of go from there. Xbox haven't won. West Cobb says, hey, what's up, Xbot? Lockhart is no more. Rest in peace. This is true. West Cobb says, crap, Xbox haven't won an NPD since 2016. What did they win in that month? Because that was 3 years ago. I'm trying to think what came out in 2016 that helped them win. I thought the last time was it Gears of War? Did Gears help them win that time? Because I can't really remember what they won, what helped them win that specific point in time. But yeah, I think it might have been the Gears of War thing, right? Very interesting to sort of see how that kind of works out and to see if it's turns out to be true or not. But yeah, Gears of War was a big deal back in 2016. It is a big deal this year as well. Like, very, very exciting time. I'm very excited by what Gears is going to have to offer, what it's going to be on its plate. But yeah, that's a long time without PT. But again, I've said this for a long time now. Microsoft absolutely absolutely does not care about the console sales right now. So, you know, hopefully, you know, that could change down the line or whatever. But right now, they just honestly do not care about winning console sales or anything like that. So, you know, we got to get that out of our minds. If we're an Xbox fan, hey, that's something that's not going to happen for a while. You know, they're not too worried about it. It's going to be interesting. So, let's see what else do we got. Oh yeah, the Lockhart thing. That's going to be the Xbox One S. Oh, is that what you're saying? The Xbox One S. So you're saying the X didn't actually win anything either, which would be, you know, I guess maybe not totally surprising, but maybe kind of surprising that Microsoft wasn't able to push the X to an NPD win, considering how much they hyped it. X gonna give it to you. Oh, excuse me, and all that kind of stuff. You know, I feel like Microsoft has done some good things this generation, and they've done a lot of boneheaded things, and like the SAT edition, obviously a boneheaded thing. But I do feel like they are kind of, you know, uh, sort of fixing that. So I also wanted to talk about this as well. It looks like, according to Brad Sams, anyway, that the Microsoft has shifted its focus to only one next gen console, which is very interesting, to say the least. Especially after we had heard there would be multiple consoles. I actually think this is a very, very good thing and a very smart thing on Microsoft's part. The reason why it's very, very smart is because you don't need multiple consoles to launch a console generation. If you wanted to do a, you know, if you wanted to do a mid-gen refresh, you could easily do that. But at the same time, why even bother? You know, if people are going to buy if you're not really obsessed with people buying your console anyway, and it looks like people aren't, right? Then it looks like, you know, then people are going to buy what they have. So the Xbox One X always made the most sense as being the next version down from the Scarlett. So I'm actually happy. This actually makes me very happy because Microsoft is probably looking at it from this point of view. If you go into next generation, right, and you have Anaconda and a Lockhart and a streaming one, and you have an Xbox One X and an S and a SAT edition, that's 6 different SKUs possibly, and that's very confusing. So you got one next-gen console, it looks like, and I think that makes absolutely the most sense from that standpoint. So that's going to be cool to see that as well. If you guys are new and just joining me, please like this video, share it out, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be answering a ton of questions as well. For me, if you might ask me, hey, Crap, do you really care about MPD and stuff like that? Nah, I don't really care about selling who sells what, as long as they make enough to continue, and it looks like they're going to continue to make consoles, then I'm happy. So let's see. Jafan95 says, or Jetfan, excuse me, says, Crap, do you think Master Chief takes off the helmet in Infinite and we get a full name? No. The reason why I think Master Chief doesn't take off his helmet is because he represents everybody. He's not a specific race or anything like that. Master Chief is everybody. Anybody can pretend and put themselves in the shoes of Master Chief, and I think that's pretty cool. So I think they'll keep it that way. Let me see. My good friend Xbox One 4K says the X could drop in price and become that 1080-60 box for next-gen game. Xbox One 4K. This is exactly what I said, right? Even a game like Forza Horizon 4 was able to do 1080p 60, so why not just have the X be that next piece of hardware? It's already a beast at 6 T-flops, right? So to me, that made the most sense. It never made more sense to actually go out there and have another set of consoles. So yeah, I love this idea. Like, and Phil Spencer confirmed this, by the way. So this would be so, dude. No, the voice actor is, but Master Chief himself can be anything, right? It doesn't matter. Like, he could be whatever, whoever's playing it. That's the great thing about it. Dingo Empire says the problem with the X being involved in next gen is that it still suffers from bottlenecks of this gen. Devs won't appreciate it. Well, you know what? I think they would appreciate it just the same as Microsoft was going to do like 6 different versions, you know, apparently with scalable and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to see how it plays out. You know, there's nothing saying for sure that they do plan on supporting the X for a little bit longer, but it doesn't mean that for sure that they're gonna you know, that it's gonna hold it back or anything like that. I've heard from multiple developers, and if I were to have Xbox friend the Don, who's also my friend too, on here, he'd probably tell you it doesn't matter because it's all scalable, blah blah blah. And I've heard that from multiple developers as well. And I've also heard from developers that, you know, it can be a pain in the butt. So I really think it just depends on the developer and the type of game. But I can only speak from what my eyes particularly see. And that is when we see games that have to be on multiple consoles for Xbox One, it looks like the graphics actually suffer quite a bit. So I actually have high hopes that, you know, whatever happens in the future, Microsoft continues to push the envelope with their graphical capabilities. That's what I want to see. And hopefully we actually can see that be achieved from Microsoft, because I feel like that's something that we've missed for a very long time, is that big graphical, wow, knock your socks off. We got it with Rise, Son of Rome, to be sure, right? At the beginning of this generation, we were all like, wow, Rise. But I get tired when people still bring up Rise. I like Rise. I think Rise is a good game for what it was for a launch game, and they could have done something great with the sequel had they bothered to stick with it. But the fact of the matter remains is they didn't. And, you know, Microsoft only has themselves to kind of thank for that or whatever. And that's disappointing that we don't get the sequels that we want. But yeah, so let me see what else. So we got Crapgamer says, when I see people say scalable, I get really nervous because I look at it now, we can't even get 60 frames on games because Xbox One OG can't see the higher end getting screwed. Yeah, I think this is a more of a issue. Oh, Lady Foxfire. Remedy Entertainment, which I linked in the description. So this was a rumor that was going around for a while now because Yoshida was visiting with them. And they had also been talking about possibly buying studios that made sense for them. And Remedy Entertainment happens to be a single-player studio. So you have to keep that in mind. I actually wanted to talk about this last night, just for the simple fact that, you know, it makes so much sense that it would be crazy for it not to happen. They're a single player studio. Sony loves single player games. Sony loves to give developers time and freedom. Remedy wants time and freedom. Boom. It's a match made in heaven, in my opinion. Microsoft really doesn't make a lot of sense, in my opinion, for Microsoft to do anything with them. That's why I knew that they probably wouldn't buy them, even though there were certain rumors at a particular time. But I think it just comes down to who's going to be doing what and when. And at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, what Sony has to offer Remedy is probably a lot more than what Microsoft could offer them, just for the simple fact that what does Microsoft have? You know, I think that would be something that you have to pay attention to as well. What Microsoft loves to do, these Game Pass games, and I'm not sure single player only games work in Game Pass per se. I know smaller games can. So I know somebody's going to go, Ori though, crap. What about Ori? What about Battletoads? Well, okay, but those are like AA games, you know, they aren't really expensive to make. I don't think Microsoft wants to make a single player only game that is AAA and costs a lot of money, right? Because they don't really believe in that. So that's just my opinion, by the way. That's totally my opinion. They might completely decide to do that one day, right? Maybe Fable will be that, which there's some new Fable stuff going around right now as well. But for me, I just think that you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense for Microsoft to partner with them. And I like Remedy. It sucks that there was a little bit of a falling out there because I thought that they did a really, really good job. You know, hopefully, hey man, come on. Why are people gonna hate, man? All I'm doing is doing a little solo podcast, man. Come on. Crap, if you had control, what third-party studio would you buy? If I was Microsoft, I still think they need to buy at least 2 more AAA studios. And I feel like those studios need to be free to make whatever kind of AAA games they want, meaning not an IP factory, right? So if you look at a lot of the studios going around right now, that's not really the case that Microsoft has. You know, Turn 10, they do the Forza Motorsport games. 343 does Halo, Coalition does Gears. Playground looks like they're going to be doing Forza Horizon and Fable. So you have these studios that are kind of stuck in doing one particular thing or the other. And I think Microsoft, what they really need is a studio that, or two, that are just completely free and AAA size that can do whatever they want. So if I was in control of Microsoft and they could buy any studios, I would want them to possibly buy, it depends. If we're just spitballing here and just like our random thoughts, I would love for them to buy BioWare and let BioWare do their own thing. And I would actually love for them to buy Bungie back and let Bungie do their own thing, right? Because I feel like if Microsoft would have been smart from the beginning with Bungie, they could have had Halo and Destiny as exclusives on their platform. And I think that would have been huge. And when I say exclusive, yeah, PC too, I don't care. It's like that's Microsoft as well. So if you guys are just here, please like, share, and subscribe. I would appreciate it. Alan Wake 2, David says, would fit in perfectly with Last of Us, God of War, Death Stranding. Here's the thing. I think that if Sony were to purchase Remedy, then Alan Wake would then be allowed to be published by Sony since they would then own the IP. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And, we just have to see how it kind of all plays out. I would love to see some of the reactions from this, right? Because from what I understand, um, Phil himself is not a fan of actually going out there and playing, Alan Wake. He wasn't an Alan Wake fan. He's the holdup why there wasn't an Alan Wake 2. He didn't really believe in the game, didn't like the game. So that's a rumor, by the way. But I've heard other YouTubers say it as well. I know I'm not the only one. I can't really think of some of the others, but next time you guys see some of these, like the Xbox 2 or something, maybe Rand or Jez will know. I'm not sure. But I've definitely heard that he's not a fan of Remedy. He's not a fan of Alan Wake. And so that's why we don't happen to have, an Alan Wake 2. So that's a little bit unfortunate for me personally. But at the same time, I do, here's the thing. If I ran Xbox, if I'm head of Xbox Game Studios or head of Xbox, I guess I would insert my influence as well. But I'd have to also realize and be intelligent enough to go, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be the only person playing these games. I've got to appeal to more people than just myself. So I feel like, and I hope that Microsoft continues to do that, because so far it seems like a lot of what they do is continuing to be online only games, right? If you look at Bleeding Edge, and I know that was in development way before, but that's a very Microsoft game. So I bet Phil probably jumped on the idea of reviving that. And, Sea of Thieves, that's an online only game. Supposedly Rare's new game is an online only game. I know some stuff like Gears and Halo happen to have multiplayer and single player focus, which I think is good. But I do think that it's a bit, it's a little bit sad that we can't get that great single player game that we used to get back in the day. And hopefully Microsoft will actually, kind of turn that around in the future or whatever. So, hey, we get almost 300 viewers here on this random, what is this, Thursday afternoon podcast. Please like the video, share it out. I'd like to get over 100 likes if I could. What's the deal with the stingy likes, man? I don't know. Nice to see Big German here. David Clegg. I saw Foxy in here as well. Game in Despair. Let's see. Who else we got in here? The New Move Games. He says Sony did say they're going to start getting into multiplayer-centric games for next gen. Yeah, and they also have that Predator game that's going to be coming out. So I think that's pretty cool as well when you think about it. I think it's easier to do take a chance on a multiplayer game than it is to take a chance with a single-player game. Because if you go all in on a single-player game and it fails, that's a really bad loss right there in terms of monetary situations, right? But for me, I feel like we'll get an interesting idea of what Sony wants to do with the multiplayer. Because from what I understand, according to Mooch and some other people, The Last of Us multiplayer is actually really good and really well received. So maybe The Last of Us 2 will bring out some of that great multiplayer or whatever, and we'll see it. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that sort of plays out. And I want to see how that sort of works out for Microsoft, just because, they haven't really taken a chance with a single player. What was their single player game that they actually took a chance with? Might have been Rise, but even that had some pretty cool. Actually, I like the co-op stuff that they did with that, the multiplayer or whatever. But when was the time they took a real chance on a new AAA single player IP? Was it Quantum Break? Was Recore? Recore's only AA though, so I don't even know how to really classify. Like, when was the last time they really did something in terms of taking a bit of a break with that kind of stuff. So yeah, I find it to be a little bit odd. I do like that Microsoft does seem to be a little bit more willing to do things now that they have Game Pass and they need to appeal to a wide variety, a wider audience. I think that's very important. And I think that Microsoft probably realizes that, they have more than just one particular set of gamers that they need to appeal to. So that's always going to be the toughest thing for Microsoft is kind of balance. You've got to be able to balance because right now, in my opinion, as a hardcore Xbox fan or have been since the beginning, I feel like they're kind of forgetting about us a bit and they're more focused on trying to get the casual markets. And if you look at what Phil Spencer said about Project xCloud, which I'm going to get into this as well, which I didn't get a chance to cover this yesterday, but I will right now as you guys do this. Al Will says, "Where's Boom? Haven't heard him in a while on your podcast." He wasn't on my podcast. He Boomstick was on the on Mooch's Crossfire, but he hasn't been able to make it lately, so I'm not sure what the deal's with there. I haven't really talked to him. So Futura 2500 says, "If there's no single player games for new Xbox, I would become a pony only gamer, or at the very least have both." Right? Arsenal Football Club says, "Crap Gaming, should I get the PS5 or next Xbox?" Well, if you can only get one, and it does look like the next Xbox, it looks like you're going to be able to play all the future games, at least for a few years, all the future Xbox games on the Xbox One X. So the next Halo and Fable and all that stuff, Forza, you're going to play everything on the current X, but you're not going to be able to play all the new stuff on the PlayStation 4 that comes out on the PlayStation 5, so no forward compatibility there. I would say PS5, if you can only get one. I always suggest getting both, but I know spending $1,000 on two consoles, not to mention the games, would be a little bit difficult. What's up, Def Jam Bam? Hey, man, please hit the like button. I would appreciate that as well. I would say Microsoft had a real chance to talk a lot of people into the Xbox Next at E3, and instead they failed to actually live up to that. In my opinion, maybe you guys were sold on what they were doing. I personally wasn't sold on anything next Xbox related. I simply think that they failed to give us any kind of compelling reason to get excited about the Xbox Scarlett, given the fact that they wouldn't even say if it was the most powerful console next gen, right? I know it's probably too early to say, but without new exclusives and new IP to show off, what else is there to get excited about, right? It's not going to be, if you're not confirming it's the most powerful and you're not giving us any new AAA exclusives, what is there to be excited about? That's all I'm saying. Like, I think that it will be fine, and I think they will give us stuff to eventually get excited about, but they failed in an opportunity to get us excited about something this E3 when Sony wasn't even there. Now, think about this. What's Microsoft going to do next year? Maybe their thinking was, we'll have a big blowout next year. We'll show off Fable. We'll show off maybe a new IP, maybe Rare's new IP. But I think a lot of people are expecting more than that, like maybe from the new studios, and those new studios might not be ready to show off anything, and that's going to be a bit of a problem, and that's when people might start to really catch on. I know I get a lot of flack, and some people will go, "Hey, man, stick with it. You be you, man. We understand because we're upset too." And I try not to get overwhelmed with being upset because I don't want to get people pissed off, but I try not to, man. It's a shame that so many people kind of were quick to abandon me when I took so many hits for Xbox this entire generation, just to abandon me for what I consider to be lesser podcasting talent. But I get it, man. I can't be positive all the time, and there's other people out there who are, and that's just the way it goes, I suppose. I'd rather be kind of real, I guess, and not everybody's into that. They'd rather kind of just have things spoon-fed to them, and I get that too, because I felt like I needed that earlier in the generation too, right? I was like, why is everybody bashing the Xbox? It's really a good console and great games, man. Rise and Forza 5 and Sunset Overdrive and Halo Master Chief Collection and Forza Horizon 2. I love these games. Killer Instinct. Wow. Sunset Overdrive, Quantum Break. Holy cow, these games look amazing. And then, we kind of settled into this generation, and it kind of stunk, man. We went through like a 3-year period where games were like Halo Wars 2, ReCore. We did get Gears, which was cool, and some great Forza Horizon games. But for the most part, we didn't get much. We got a lesser Dead Rising game. Dead Rising 4 was nowhere near as good as Dead Rising 3. And it's not just because it wasn't exclusive. They just didn't put the money and time into it. Dead Rising 3 was good because Microsoft helped fund that game. And you could tell. Dead Rising 4, all the zombies looked the same. It just was not up to par with what I thought it should be. Twisted says, so it's been announced that Lockhart is dead. That's great news. I actually think that is great news. Official says what studio they're buying. It looks like and the rumor is that they're buying Remedy Entertainment, and it makes perfect sense. Remedy does single-player games. Sony does single player games. At the very least, they're working on a game together. Could be very much an exclusive. I linked it in case you guys wanted to check it out. Look, Lockhart being dead, that makes a lot of sense to me. The reason why that makes sense to me, you don't want to confuse people, right? I know I've mentioned this multiple times, and I know we're not living in the day and age where people are dumb, right? We have phones. We know what a iPhone X is, or an iPhone S, or an Android this, or an Android that. I get it. But at the same time, how is Microsoft going to go into quote unquote next generation with a Lockhart, an Anaconda, an xCloud streaming device, the Xbox One X, the Xbox One S, and the Xbox One SAT edition? It would have been nearly impossible for them to really pull that off. So, Haunted Cake says, "What did you think of Battletoads?" I actually liked Battletoads. I'm not a hater. I'm gonna play it. I have Game Pass, right? I'm glad that they brought it back. I like the art style. I think it looks cool, sort of Cuphead-ish. They went for that sort of hand-drawn look. So I'm excited to kind of jump into it and play it. You know, I don't think it should be more than like a $20 game, but a lot of people were asking for it. So I think it's really cool. Let's see. Oh, so we got Xbot and Def Jam Bam in here. Yeah, that, like Def Jam says, man, hit that like button. Andrew Lingley says, I would love to see new Bioshock. So do I. Talus says, do you think they will do an enhanced mode for back compat games, or will people have to rebuy games like Gears of War 5? Here's the thing, Talus. They'll probably just do free updates for it, but Gears of War 5 is already going to be 4K, 60 frames, HDR on the X. So I would assume that that's not dynamic, and that'll be that on the next gen stuff too. So I don't know what more they can do on the next gen console with that game. Like, I don't think that it could do 8K, and it would make sense. Maybe they do some increased lighting on it or something like that, because from what I understand, from the way Matt Booty describes it anyway, from the way he describes it, you're still going to use Xbox One game discs if you buy physical for the Scarlett. So when you go into a store, you'll buy an Xbox One game disc, you'll put it in your Scarlett or your X, it'll recognize which console it is and give you that version of the game, I guess. I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's how it's going to work. And is that going to work out well for everybody? Look, I don't even know. I have no idea how that's going to work. That's a very much a PC thing to me. And I'm kind of lost when it comes to PC stuff, right? I'm not exactly the most intelligent guy with that. Like, I did build mine recently, and I did learn some stuff about it, but I'm not exactly like this super PC guy. You know, that's not my thing. But I do hope that, you know, in the future, we continue to get, you know, the most we can from the hardware. I would hate to see any of the hardware be held back by older hardware. And I know that scaling is a thing, and I get that, but I can't help but look at what Microsoft is doing and what Sony is able to do, right? And what Sony is able to do with their own specific hardware is incredible, right? And I know that people hate hearing that, right? And I totally get that. And the reason why they hate to hear that is because if you look at stuff like Gears of War or Spider-Man, even on that base, you know, that base piece of hardware, the base PS4, those games look so much better than even a lot of things on the Xbox One X, because they really know what they're doing. They really go all out. And I feel like that's just absolutely very intelligent of them and very smart of them to kind of pull that off. So, you know, just like I said, man, just one of those very, very incredible things to see kind of happen. And I'm going to be very interested to see how that plays out within the next generation, because I, just like you guys, am very excited about where the future of gaming goes. And I hope Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo are a big part of it, because I know you might have heard me rant a little bit yesterday as well. I feel like we desperately need those three companies competing with each other, because it gives us gamers, it gives us that the competition. We're the ones that get the competition, right? The competition is great for us, and we need to continue to get that competition. Control looks fun. Hey, I don't think Control looks bad. Talus says Crapgamer like add ray tracing as an update. I 100% agree. That's what it would be. Notorious Sam says Days Gone owns anything on Xbox. Facts. Well, I don't know if it's facts, but I will say this in my opinions. Days Gone, if that had released on Xbox this gen as a new IP, would be better than any new IP that Microsoft has released this generation, especially single player wise. Just horrible single player games that Microsoft has released. let's see. Yeah, there's Xbox. Yeah, the ray tracing stuff is interesting. I'm trying to learn some of that too, so that I can kind of go into next generation with a little bit of intelligence going into that. So that's going to be fun. Next doc says he's calling out Xbox. He says you're part of the problem with the Xbox platform. EA Access and Game Pass is now pushing other publishers to make another damn service, which eventually they'll want to bypass the consoles. This is a real thing that I've been worried about as well. Hey guys, please hit the like button. We're closing in on 100 likes. I would appreciate that. I worry about there being too many different services. I'm not a big fan of all these different services. I think that it really takes away from just the freedom that developers have, because Microsoft will, all these companies, right? EA, they have to get their games into EA Access in a hurry. You know, they have to get these games out. Microsoft, they have to get these games out. Ubisoft will have to get their games out. So, you know, it really does mean that they have to rush a little bit, and I don't like that at all. So, what do we got here? Not for nothing, Death Stranding, Last of Us 2, Ghost look better than Halo Infinite on Scarlett spec PC. Dual purpose. You're not wrong, man. I think that them not showing actual gameplay of Halo Infinite was a mistake. And from what we saw, I don't think Halo Infinite looked next generation to me. I think it looks good, but I don't think it looks next generation. And I am happy that people are excited for Halo again, though, after, you know, Halo 5. And I liked Halo 5 a lot. I just feel like it left a little bit of a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth because of the, you know, the single player aspect. So for me, I think the multiplayer ended up being the best multiplayer out of any of the Halos. But I do feel like Microsoft showed a piss poor first glance of Halo Infinite's gameplay. Though they didn't show any gameplay, but, you know. Nilson Medina says, dude, Gears doesn't have a limited edition. What is Microsoft smoking? Listen, Microsoft is not living that limited edition life, although Mikey Barr did hint saying that there could be something. Why there isn't a limited edition console or anything like that. There is a collector's edition, though, with a drone. I think it's like $200 or $250. So way out of my league, I'm just going to get it for the first time. I'm not buying a Gears game. I'm actually just getting Gears through Game Pass, right? Why not? I have Ultimate paid up for a few years. You know, I might as well just use it and kind of do that. Hey guys, hit the like button. Let's get over 100. Google Stadia, dude. I don't know if Stadia is going to buy anything in particular. They do have a lot of money, so we'll have to watch out for that. But they could start to try to play dirty with some of these companies, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. That wouldn't surprise me one little bit. Master Chief need a new design with more details. I'm not a big fan of the new design of Master Chief. I liked his design in Halo 5, to be honest, and Halo 4. So the fact that they kind of went back to a Halo 2 sort of design doesn't exactly thrill me. But hey, you know, I'm not the only fan. I get that. You know, there's other people out there that maybe like it. I wasn't a big fan of it. Why? I don't understand why they're going to go back. Why we're going to go back in the past to make a sequel to the last Halo. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So we'll have to see how that kind of works out and see if it's just something that that they can fix or work on. Like, I don't know. I should probably have a talk with Xbot and some of these people, because I feel like, I don't know. I would love to see what the hardcore Halo fan. I'm a hardcore Halo campaign guy, not as much in the multiplayer. I suck at it. I think it's fun as hell, but I'm terrible at it. So, I'd have to talk to some of these hardcore Xbox Halo dudes and see what they think. What do I think of Microsoft picking up people who make Until Dawn and the ones that make Life is Strange? Wouldn't that be a good Game Pass pickups? I agree. I actually love Until Dawn and those type of games, and they do make a lot of sense. What is it? Don't Nod. I think they're the ones that made those games. Yeah, I 100% would love to see those type of games. They make a lot of sense. Also, IO Interactive, who does the those one games. What the hell are those games, man? I can't think of the name now. But yeah, they do the Hitman games. Yeah, that's the name of those games. And those are episodic, so that would make a lot of sense. Next doc, yeah, Foxy says Gears 5 Collector's Edition is good for a Foxy deal. Yeah, when the Collector's Edition goes down to $50, Foxy, just like the Gears 5 Collector's Edition did, let me know, and I'll buy it. But, man, 200. How am I going to talk the lady into that? You know what I mean? I'm having a hard enough time talking her into, the new Elite controller. Hey, I've got 2 Elite controllers, baby, but, I really want this other Elite controller. Well, what's the difference between that one and this one? It's got pressure. You can pressure sensitive. You can really tighten the sensitivity there. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm facing that now. So yeah, that's going to be a problem. How am I going to talk her into? Hey, well, this version of Gears has a drone. Woo, like, yeah, let me spend 250 bucks for this. I don't know that's going to fly. Next doc says, crap, I've locked that Gears 5 collector's edition up. I've purchased every Gears CE minus Gears Judgment. I agree. You're smart to do it, man. I just can't afford it right now. Talus says, crap, my question is, what happens to the game you have downloaded from Game Pass when it leaves Game Pass? If it's a third-party game, you can't access it anymore. They'll give you the option to buy it for a cheaper price, though. That's the problem. It's like Netflix, okay? Netflix changes out their third-party content a lot, but their first-party stuff, the stuff that they make, stays in there. Microsoft's first-party stuff stays in there, and it'll continue to stay in there. So, like, that's something that they'll be able to continue to do as well. So, do developers even make enough money if their games come out day one on Game Pass for selling the game for $60? Gaming Despair, they make money based on every download. I don't know if it's as much as as it would be for a sale, but it's got to be something good because developers keep approaching Microsoft and more are putting their games in day and date or whatever. So I don't know how to pronounce your name, sir, but he says Game Pass is killing AAA new IPs from Xbox devs. I don't know if that maybe. Like, what's Microsoft going to do? Like, they really need some AAA exclusives out there, right? And I feel like something new would really hit the spot. But, that's really going to be a problem if they can't get some new IP announced soon. Crap, I know how you feel, but my better half is going to get me the Elite 2. Hey, you know what? Just to be clear, mine would probably too. If I were like, hey, can I get that, for if she asked me what I wanted for my birthday or Christmas or something, it'd be fine. But just, there's like priorities and stuff. And, I'm fully aware of that. So that's fine. Halo, Xbox's #1 franchise, isn't even in the top 20 games played. That will tell you all you need to know about what 343 has done with Halo. Hurts to say, but it's the truth. Mad Max, here's the thing, right, bro? Halo came out in 2015. We're in 2019. I wouldn't expect Halo to be number in the top 20. 4 almost 5 years later, I wouldn't expect that. There is a dedicated fan base that still plays Halo. Xbot was on there recently. Foxy was on there recently. A lot of people get on there recently. It really just comes down to what you're able to do and what you're playing, and and I feel like what Microsoft is doing now is really sort of is sort of hitting the spot for those Halo fans. Like, they're trying to appeal to the old school Halo fans. And I feel like that's smart, but I also feel like you can't abandon the possibility of changing it to bring in new fans, because how many people really want to play a game that you can't? I hope that they allow you to sprint and stuff like that. I don't mind aiming down sights and sprinting. Not being able to do that stuff just feels so old and last gen to me. So yeah, for me personally, I think that that makes sense. Falling Vector says, what other studios would you like to see Sony buy? I would like to see Sony buy. Okay, well, if you want to, I think Remedy makes sense. I think Insomniac Games makes sense. I think they make a hell of a lot of sense. Because Sony still owns a lot of those IP. The Resistance franchise. I feel like that franchise, we've missed it this generation. I feel like it would have been great to have Sony have that multiplayer type franchise out this generation, and they haven't really had that. So if they owned Insomniac, they could have 2 teams, one working on Spider-Man, one working on a Resistance game or a new IP, or maybe even 3 teams, and one working on a new Ratchet and Clank, because that new Ratchet and Clank that they did this gen was really, really great. So hey, if you guys are just joining me, so close to 100 likes, please share this out, like it. I would really appreciate it. That really means a lot to me that you guys are out here supporting me just on a random kind of a random sort of podcast. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Brad Sams, who was talking about the No More Lockhart. If you guys are just joining me as well, it looks like the evidence and insiders at the company acknowledged that there were 2 devices on the roadmap for Xbox, Lockhart and Anaconda, even though the company has released 1 new console and has another plan. This is according to Brad Sams. He firmly believes that at E3 2018, Phil was referring to 2 next-gen consoles on stage. All this being said, Microsoft's current plans for next-generation Xbox is to focus on Scarlett, and all mentions of Lockhart, which was previously documented in several places, have now been scrubbed clean. The big question is what prompted the change in strategy. And this is again Brad Sams talking, and I'm reading off of his thing. Talking with various people inside and outside of Microsoft, here's the best conclusion as to why the device was removed from the roadmap. First, developers were having a harder than expected time creating next generation games that span across 2 systems with varying specs. As you might expect, developers were putting a focus on making games that would run well on the lower end device first, and then scaling them up for the higher spec Anaconda. But that may not be the only reason. The purpose of Lockhart was to make it easier to join the Xbox family with a console that was priced much lower than its bigger brother. Anaconda, with the progress made on xCloud and its ability to bring high-quality, low-latency gaming to any device, Lockhart said it had become more of an obstacle for Microsoft, more of a hindrance than a help. So I personally think that it was a combination of some of these things, but mostly I believe it had to do with developers not wanting to, or, because you're making games specifically for the lower spec, and then you up it, right? And then you up it for, you up it for the Anaconda. And I feel like that wasn't going to end well for Anaconda fans. We were going to get nothing that looked next gen, in my opinion. So I feel like what they're doing was very smart, and that's very important. Hey, Crap, do you see Microsoft making pre-built PCs, Xbox branded in the future? No, I feel like Microsoft doesn't care much about the hardware market at all. M. Kai says, Crap, do you wear Xbox underwear and crap in them? No, I wear boxer briefs, and no, I don't do that. Not since I was a little kid, anyway. That's not my bag. Definitely not. So, with that being said, hopefully we can continue to sort of move on with what we're talking about here. I don't mind if they're going to kill that. I think it's smart to kill one of the Xboxes and keep the other one going, just in my opinion anyway. So yeah, dude, I get asked stupid questions all the time, and then people get get offended when I answer the question. You know what I mean? Like, hey, show me a little bit of respect, man. I'm not being nothing but respectful to everybody here. I try my best to answer as many questions as I can, at least answer something, ask something interesting. Chuck Finley says Xbox has turned the ship in spending and studio acquisition. The X is a step in the right direction. Don't care what people say. I love my X. Chuck, I love the Xbox One X as well. So, Haunted Cake says, Crap, did you get the Xbox shampoo? What does it smell like? No, I did not buy that. I will not buy that. I don't care about Xbox shampoo. Sorry. No, man, MK, I get it, man. You're just having fun. I can take a joke. Trust me, I can take a joke, man. I much love, man. That was funny. That was funny stuff. You taking the hate and trolls in stride. I commend you. Great podcast. Listen, I've been doing this stuff for a long time, man. I've been doing it, and originally I can remember being real upset at some of the trolls, and I get a lot of threats and stuff like you guys can't even imagine. And I remember talking to Next Gen 720, and if you guys didn't know, me and him really patched things up, and we're cool now and stuff like that. But he actually did give me a lot of really great advice early on. I'm talking 2013, 2014, so 5 years ago. And he told me, he's like, Crap, don't let anybody, these internet strangers, affect you, or they don't know you. They're going to say whatever they can to try and get in your head and affect you. Don't let these internet strangers do that to you or change who you are. And I took that. A lot of people might have a lot of different opinions on Next Gen, but he gave me really great advice with his YouTube stuff. And since that point in time, that's exactly what I've done. I just think that, a lot of people on the internet will say whatever they can to try to get to you. And for me, I just let it roll because I leave this internet stuff at the door. I'm off doing my own thing most of the time. I do a couple podcasts a week. I'm doing the least amount of videos I've done in years. I only do 1 or 2 videos a day now. I was doing up almost 4 a day. I can't keep up that pace and then still do my job and all this other stuff and have a life. It's very difficult. So I've backed off on a lot of that stuff, just living my life, having a good time. So I suggested a lot of people do the same. And do I miss Sega making consoles? I do. Hey, man, Z's a good guy, man. Me and him should probably do something as soon as I'm settled in. maybe a Mooch and Z show every week. Jupton says, what do you think the next Xbox name will be? Well, Phil Spencer doesn't even know the name. If I had to guess, I think it's going to be called Xbox One something, just because I heard we're going to be able to play Xbox One games, or the Xbox One game discs are going to work on the Scarlett. So there is that as well. So I think that it's going to really kind of just depend on what we get as fans and what they want to do. But I think we're getting forward compatibility, and I think that's exactly why we're going to get that. So yeah. Dog of War says, I don't understand the amount of hate you get. You keep it real. You praise Xbox when they deserve and criticize when they deserve it. For same for the other platform. Well, here's the thing, man. I was a very cocky character because I like the angry video game nerd, and he was one of the reasons why I started kind of doing this. And I liked having a character to play as. I started backing away from that kind of character where I'd be like, hey man, don't tell me how to do my thing, and I won't go to McDonald's and tell you how to flip burgers for a living, right? So I very much had that kind of character. And then I decided that I didn't like doing that character anymore. It was just like, I can still be funny. And I did if you guys ever watch Crossfire, I do the Johnny podcast thing where he's just like but people know, people have a hard time distinguishing a character or when you're just being outrageous for the sake of being outrageous. And for me personally, I always said it this way though, right? One, I never ever narked on anybody. I never ever, because I don't do that, right? Two, I never cared. I could always take the hits. If people were, photoshopping my face on weird stuff and passing it around on Twitter or YouTube or taking my clip, I took it in stride. It was all fun, right? That's the name of the game. There are other people out there who would absolutely have a meltdown if they went through the stuff that I went through early on. So I feel like I've done my part to kind of help pave the way. Next Gen obviously was up there waving the flag first, and he gets a lot of hate too, simply for the fact of, hey, he's the one calling out a lot of the stuff that I am too as well, as an Xbox fan. Like, we're Xbox fans. We love the ecosystem. How come they don't come out with new games? That's really kind of a bad problem. Talus says, your bud Randall Thor told me I should add you. You're a better guy than YouTube makes you out to be. I'll send you an Xbox and PlayStation request if you don't mind. Yeah, feel free. Listen, I've got no problem with Rand. I've got no problem with anybody, man. If you guys didn't know, me and Salty patch things up. There's very few people I have a Discord with, and I'm never going to do drama videos. So at best, you might get a little joke that maybe a couple people might get, or like I did like the little funny voice where I slap down like button, I do something stupid like that. It's not hurting anybody. It's just a joke. I like to do my own thing, and I think people kind of understand that. Did I hear what Phil said about the console design? He has me worried about the look of Scarlett. He said it's unconventional. I hope it's not too unconventional. I hope not. Do you think Xbox Infinite is going to be the name of the console? It fits with the Halo Infinite game. Xbox Infinite would be very funny. I think that there was a rumor that it was going to be that, or Xbox Infinity. This current one was going to be that. So yeah, like that's going to be very interesting to see how that kind of pans out. For me personally, I feel like I don't really care what it's called as long as it actually is a upgrade from generation to generation. So yeah, Mad Jack. Listen, that was like, a while ago. I apologize for that. Like the next day or something like that. I guess Salty's come around and he apologized too. We're good. Even I can have a bad day, man. And sometimes stuff gets to me. And it wasn't necessarily particularly what he was doing. He just was at the brunt end of that for no reason, and it was foolish, man. I'm a grown man. I should know better than to kind of do those type of things. Just I let some stuff get the better of me that day, and I took it out on the guy. And I did apologize to him, and since then, me and him, we're cool. I have no problem with him. I have no issues whatsoever with him. So yeah, I think that it's it takes a man, I think, to apologize or whatever, and I have no problem apologizing or saying that I was wrong at different times and different points. So I've been wrong a lot. I've been right a lot too. I never get credit for that stuff, but it's fine. I don't really mind. It's one of those things where everybody's, even a broken watch is right twice a day. I tend to be right a little bit more than that, but I take it all in stride and I think some of this stuff is funny. So yeah, I never take too much. Crap, you should have J-Dub, aka Kratos, on your show. You know what? I would love that. Does he actually do podcasts and stuff? He's actually a cool guy. Like, here's the thing about this guy, right? And this is one of the things that really did come out of me being able to kind of go back and say and unblock a lot of these PlayStation people that I had blocked just because they had a different opinion than me. Like this guy Kratos, he jokes and trolls, and he's funny at it. Like, he never gets personal with anybody, and I think that's funny, and that's fine. And he makes a lot of sense. But and he does a good job of like trolling and getting on and push buttons, and I think that's fine. I honestly do think that that's 100% okay, and he's a good guy. A lot of these PlayStation guys that I didn't originally like turn out they're pretty good guys, and they don't get personal, and they just like PlayStation over Xbox, and they help a lot of people out in the meantime as well. So I have nothing but respect for that guy. I think he's like good friends with Luca and some of these other people as well. So I've got no problem with them. I've unblocked so many people. I love just talking video games and having that kind of an interaction with people. So am I a full-blown pony like MBG? Listen, I can't speak for I can't really speak for anybody else, right? So when it comes to being a full-blown pony, I don't think so. I still play Xbox. I play my third-party games on Xbox. I want them to have exclusives, AAA, new IP. That's what I want. If that makes me a pony, then I guess in some people's eyes I am. But I still play Xbox the majority of the time. I just have been enjoying PlayStation exclusives and VR a lot lately. So I have been asking Microsoft to make announce new AAA IP. I would love that to happen. Will they ever do it? I don't know. I hope they announce it soon. It seems like we've got to wait another year, and I guess that kind of is what it is. But at the end of the day, I feel like Microsoft is at least making some changes that are actually helping out the industry and going to do a long way in helping people sort of, be happy with what they have, man. I always want to be happy with Xbox again, right? Like, show us some games. It's not going to take much, man. Give us some AAA games. 1 or 2 new AAA IP is all I'm asking for, and I think we'll be okay. I think we'll eventually get there, but when? That's my point. Like, when are we going to get there? Because these new studios are great, right? They're great. But a lot of them are locked up in making third-party games right now for the foreseeable future. So when are we going to see something new from them? That's always been my point. So while I do like a lot of what they're doing, obviously their kind of thing is wait and see, wait for next year. I don't really want to wait till 2025 to get something new that's exclusive, because I honestly think Microsoft kind of wants to go and put their games on everything. Right. That's why Phil Spencer said what he says. Matt Booty says what he said as well, saying it's up to Sony if they want like Halo or Gears on their platform. I think the only reason why Sony says no is because Microsoft at that point would have Xbox Live users on PlayStation Network, and that would make Xbox look good, make Sony not look so good. So I feel like Sony probably says no for that reason. Otherwise, those games would already be on PlayStation. So I do feel like Microsoft maybe wants to do that in the future, though. So that does worry me a little bit. Fable. Yes, I'm very, very excited about Fable. Holomoko says, crap, those will be AA IP. I hope we get some AAA, though. Crap, do you think that Microsoft could announce any AAA at Gamescom? Nope, they're not going to announce any new AAA games at Gamescom. They would have already done that. Let's see. Microsoft don't do exclusive games anymore. Not really. Hopefully Ninja Theory games will be revealed next year. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. David Klieg says, I think MBG went through some sort of depression over the last few months being an Xbox fan. I think we all know the feeling. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to knock anybody. If I don't think, like, people might go, oh, you do it for views. Like, my stuff fell off big time, man, and I knew it would, and people were quick to pull support, and that happens, right? Like, you think, oh, well, you have, I don't know what I have, like, 60,000 subscribers built on me being positive with Xbox for the most part. Although early on, I was very aware of what Microsoft was doing. I even did videos like, hey, they're going in a direction right now that I'm not really a fan of. I'm not sure if I can be a fan of Microsoft and Xbox if they continue to go in this direction. I've done videos like that in the past, and nobody gave me crap over it, right? But because there's so many other YouTubers just, sprinkling fairy dust over everything and making everything smell like roses. Anytime you're negative against Xbox, they get the whole crowd on you and they hate you. So this has happened. You literally have people out there trying to ruin you, and it's unfortunate because it doesn't help the Xbox brand grow. And Microsoft just tends to listen to these guys now, right? They listen to the ones that are out there, sugar plums dancing in their head. And, they're not listening to the crazy people like me that are asking for AAA IP, saying, hey, we've got more hardware announcements than AAA new IP announced in the last 4 years, and that's ridiculous, right? It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Anybody can look into that. So that was always my point. Cross Zaber says, still baffled to me why Microsoft don't show more Gears 5 gameplay. You think they save it for Gamescom? No, they're showing Gears 5 single player 4 days before it releases. So, hey, Shady's a good guy, man. I love having Shady on the podcast last night because he gets into it with everybody else, and it's great to have differences of opinions. Nobody wants everybody on the opinion just to go, Gears, it's great. I love it. Xbox is great. I love it. You want those differences of opinions. Shady doesn't believe in exclusives. He thinks everything should be on everything. The problem is you're never going to see Sony games on an Xbox, and you're never going to see PlayStation or Nintendo games on an Xbox. So the only one that would do it would be Xbox put their games on PlayStation and Nintendo, which would essentially kill Xbox. The reason why it would, because nobody's going to buy an Xbox if you can play those games on a PlayStation, because you're going to also be able to play PlayStation exclusives there. And Xbox doesn't have a brand or isn't recognized globally the way PlayStation is outside of the US and the UK. So you take away US sales and the UK sales from Xbox One, and they probably have less than 10 million consoles sold. So you take away exclusives, and nobody's going to buy an Xbox anywhere. It's just going to be, and they're going to stop making the hardware. They're still going to make the games, but they'll stop making the hardware. I can guarantee it. So that's always been my point. And you can't really compare it to DVD players or this or that. It just doesn't make sense. You got to have exclusive content. Nintendo has always done well based on their exclusive content. Their games sell like crazy. Every year, every holiday, Sony and Microsoft both have a console that goes for $199, but everybody picks up that PlayStation because why? Because it's going to have better games. Spider-Man, God of War, Uncharted, and Microsoft only continues to bundle Forza Horizon because it's the only decent game they've had recently. So how many times can you put a 2015 Halo in there or a 2016 Gears? You can't do it. So they're putting these old ass games like Minecraft or Forza Horizon 3 out there, and it doesn't work very well. You got to have new stuff, So, yeah, exclusives matter to me. New IP matter. That's how you get. I mean, I wouldn't have bought Xbox One to begin with this generation if they hadn't shown off the exclusives that they did. Think about it. 2013. What did they show off? Killer Instinct. That got me to buy an Xbox One. I'm being honest with you, right? Sony had Killzone Shadowfall, Drive Club, and Knack. That was it. And Drive Club got delayed. To me, Killer Instinct, Dead Rising 3, Forza Motorsport 5. They also showed off Sunset Overdrive, Titanfall, Rise. They showed off a lot of games. And that was why I bought an Xbox One at launch. I could only afford to get one. I bought an Xbox One. I was very happy with it. Now lately, obviously not as happy, but I hope that they can bring that back by releasing some great exclusives down the line. So let's see. What's the point in the name Xbox if they go cloud and don't offer a box in the future? It's just, well, they're Xbox Studios as well. So LG Nemesis. Infamous wasn't a launch game, though. I get it came out early in 2014, and I so did Titanfall, I guess, but Infamous wasn't exactly my favorite game. I actually liked the DLC that they released for it, First Light, better than Second Son. So, but yeah, I hear what you're saying, man. But for me, they announced Halo, Sunset Overdrive. There was Titanfall. They announced a lot of stuff, and I was very excited for that because they had also launched with Killer Instinct, Combo Breaker. I was just super excited. So, yeah, well, that's what they did, man. That's why I bought an Xbox One. Dead Rising 3 was great as well. You know how huge it would be if they remastered Kingdoms of Amalur. Isn't that game that company went out of business? I don't even know who owns that anymore, but I think a pitcher or a former pitcher in the Major League Baseball helped fund that or something, and then ended up kind of going under. I like that game as well, though. White Knight says, I need to try Infamous. I heard it was similar to Crackdown 3, but it looks like a AAA game. That's the main difference. And it can be fun, where, I don't think Crackdown 3 is exactly... it can be fun sometimes, I guess, but it gets old really, really quickly. So there is that. So, let's see. Who do we got here? Xbox had a stronger launch than PS4, then Sony totally obliterated its competition after the second year onwards in terms of quality. Well, I thought it was third year forward, right? Like once Sony started doing stuff like Until Dawn, Uncharted 4, you know, then I thought it was really, Ratchet and Clank. I thought at that particular point they were doing really well. Stuff like The Order and Drive Club and Killzone, those first couple of years were rough in my opinion. And I felt like Microsoft outclassed them, but Microsoft continues to release games that would be okay as a launch game, right? Like Crackdown 3 would have been good as a launch game in 2013. Uh, you know, State of Decay 2 would have been okay as a launch game. Sea of Thieves would have been okay as a launch game. But when you launch these games years in, you're supposed to be at where Sony's at now, right? Their games are on a roll. These 90 winning game of the year Metacritic games, those are the type of games that you're supposed to be releasing. Everybody's playing. Here's the thing. No matter who your favorite Xbox YouTuber is, no matter what kind of spiel they're telling you, most of them have a PS4 and they're playing these PS4 exclusives and loving them because they're amazing. And then they're going back and telling you exclusives don't matter, or they're going back and telling you that the exclusives are coming, quote unquote. When, we don't know. AAA, single player, we don't know. I don't know. Just a lot that we don't know. So that, to me, is a bit of a problem. Next doc says, crap, how's it being everywhere pro-consumer? Games being everywhere is then a monopoly. Monopolies are more anti-consumer than exclusives. Let me at these gaming communities. Listen, I feel like if you didn't have that competition between Sony, if you had every game available on every platform, two of the platforms would go very quickly and be gone. And Xbox would be the first because it doesn't have global recognition like the other ones do. I think Sony would probably win. And then we wouldn't have anybody but Sony, and you'd be forced to buy their hardware and pay their prices, and there would be no competition. Like, people don't get this. Like, this would be not a good thing. We've got to kind of keep this kind of stuff in mind when we look forward and when we go forward, because at the end of the day, it really does just come down to what these companies want to do. And you got to have that, you've got to have that competition. I'm sorry. You got to have it. It's got to be there. I'm sorry, but it's just the way it works. You've got to have competition. Without it, look, PlayStation Plus, they got games. Xbox fans, then what did we ask for? We got games too with our subscription. So if you didn't have that competition, we wouldn't have anything. Microsoft, they launched this $500 beast of a machine with Kinect. Sony launched a $400 machine without the Kinect. So Microsoft is forced to pull that out. Imagine there's no Sony. Microsoft continued to sell a $500 machine with Kinect. You got to look at the competition and say, hey, this is good for gaming. We got to have competition. We've got to be able to, go back and forth and sort of give our opinions on this stuff. And for me personally, I feel like that's super important. And I really love seeing the competition between Microsoft and Sony and even Nintendo. I know technically Nintendo does their own thing. It's but for Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft, it really comes down to competition, and what one offers, the other one kind of has to react to, and that's what we need. We need that competition, and I'll always think that competition is the most important thing when it comes to this kind of stuff. So hopefully we do continue to get some of that competition between these companies, because that's very, very important. Hey, everybody, hit the like button, man. Let's maybe get 150, 200 likes. So how the heck is it good for us if the consumer of Xbox or PlayStation were the last one standing? We'd be screwed. If there was only one console, they could charge whatever they want for it, and we'd be kind of forced to pay it. Oh, yep. Yep, not everyone wanted Kinect. They should have always had a SKU where there wasn't a Kinect involved, and I agree 100%. So let's see, what else do we got? Ask for Codfish says, I'm a PlayStation guy, but I like to keep updated. I want to have both, but Microsoft not giving me a reason. I agree, man. Listen, Game Pass, it's great. I think it's fantastic. There is a reason there. Like, I did it. Like, I was not a big fan of Game Pass for the longest time. I didn't think it was a huge deal. And then you start to see what's happening, and you just see that Game Pass is a really big deal, and it's a great deal, and it's wonderful for gamers. And the fact that even third-party stuff like Outer Worlds is going to be in there day one, I think that's very important. but I also feel it's important to get some of these big exclusives. They're unique games that are going to play best on Microsoft's own hardware. That's super important. Francisco says, "Hey, Crap, greetings from Puerto Rico." Hey, greetings, my friend. Hey, there's the Don. He's there, man. What's up, man? Kiss that ring. The Don. Yeah, man. Listen, the Lockhart stuff broke while I was on air, man. That's very surprising. Phil Spencer kind of confirms they only got one console now. Like, I think it makes sense, but hearing that possibly there were some interesting things with developers. They had trouble making games that stood out on the Anaconda when they had to make them for the base platform as well. So I don't know. We'll see how that kind of works out. Let's see. Mark Albert says, "I bought some crisp and there was a year Game Pass in the pack." Hey, man, you're lucky. You're lucky, man, because those years of Game Pass are worth a lot. Dude, I can remember when Game Pass first came out, right? I feel like I couldn't give that stuff away. MNC show was given away. We had years of Game Pass that people donated, and nobody wanted it. We had months of Game Pass and 3 months here, 6 months there, 1 month game. Nobody wanted it. We were giving it away, and people were like, "Do you got anything else?" And we were like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, we don't want Game Pass." And I think that's changed now. So that just goes to show you how quickly Microsoft has gone from having a service that pretty much nobody really cared about into a service where, a lot of people love, and I think that that's super important going forward. We've got to be able to have these great service and great games. That's very important too. Like, Microsoft has to keep these games flowing. They want to do, what did they say? They wanted to do something like a game every 3 months in Game Pass, a big game, AAA game. I think that's admirable, but they're going to have to be able to do a good job of keeping it in there. Goth Witch Girl says, "Crap, you think they would have gotten a clue from the X sales?" Yeah, you would think so. I agree. Gauntlet says, "PC MR in the building." Hey, anybody that wants to spend money like for PC, hey, more power to you, man. If you got the money to spend and you're an enthusiast and you can spend thousands or whatever, go for it. PC isn't for me, but I get why people do like it if they like to tinker and stuff. Cross X Zaber says, "Game Pass is not for me. I want to handpick my games and be able to play them whenever I want and lend them to my friends. Physical copy rules." I agree. I like physical copies still too, but I do like to be able to share stuff digitally, because at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where it's kind of fun. You know what I mean? I can game share with my brother, and I feel like that's super important as well. So I like a lot of the things, man. I like being able to, share games and do that kind of thing. So that to me is fun. Physical games, I like to collect stuff, but at the same time, it's not something that I completely freak out about if I can't. If I'm slowly kind of getting away from that. So yeah, hopefully you guys are all kind of on board with that as well. Let's see. Publishing Xbox games with PS4 doesn't make sense since you can't get Netflix originals on Hulu, and that gives value to this platform. Well, here's the thing. Coluzazo, Phil Spencer keeps saying it doesn't matter if you it doesn't matter if they sell boxes, right? He's not trying to sell boxes per se, right? What he's trying to do is sell services and games. But he doesn't realize if he sells 100 million boxes, he has a chance to sell, 100 million games. I know you don't, that's not how it works, but the more boxes you have sold, the more games you can sell. And he's very much focused on this 2 billion number, right? That they play Candy Crush and stuff for the most part. And so that's not the type of people that they spend money on phone games, 99 cents or whatever, free games, right? They're not going to spend $60 to play a full game. Same thing with Stadia. Right? People, they're not going to buy games like a full big game, $60 to play on their cell phone. Like, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. 100% never going to happen. So Phil Spencer also said this when talking about Project xCloud. He says it's the way for Xbox to reach gamers in Africa and India. So we did get some new details about it, and we now know that Xbox console owners will be able to use their console to stream games for free. That's remote play. No fees attached there. However, Microsoft's real bid with Xbox with Project xCloud is to broaden the total addressable market, or TAM. Speaking to games industry after E3, and this is a new article today, head of gaming Phil Spencer pointed to untapped territories like Africa and India as areas where consoles don't currently do well, unlike smartphones. Thus, Project xCloud could be the perfect way to get gamers to play Xbox titles. He said that we know that the first customers for xCloud are going to be people who own an Xbox. It's going to be, oh, I want to try and play my Xbox when I'm away. He says last month, Catherine, chief of staff strategy for Xbox, and I were in Africa. Not a lot of Xboxes in Africa, not a lot of game consoles. 1.2 billion people on the continent of Africa. Average age is 19. They know Fortnite, they know Halo, they know Gears. They just don't have a device. There are gamers there, but the device they have is an Android phone. So today they're kind of locked out of what an E3 is, outside of watching because of capabilities they have. When I think about the 2 billion gamers worldwide, which is a number that has tripled over the last 2 decades, I really think about how we service the 2 billion who play today with us, as much content and services as we can offer, but also go to places like Africa. I was looking at some of the PUBG mobile numbers in India, and they're crazy. They've had 100 million downloads or something. You see these markets where gaming can grow to the next 2 billion or more. There are 7 billion people on the planet. For me, I think they should all play video games. So my question would be, I understand that in Africa they have limited download speed, so that would be a problem as well. So I'm not really sure that I actually kind of agree with. I'm not sure about India. And when you talk about downloads, that's a little bit different, right? So I get that a lot of people download PUBG or Fortnite on their phones, but downloading a game and then playing it takes less of an internet connection than it would be to stream a game and play it. So I feel like he's a little bit off right here, and he's just kind of using this as a way. I get it. I think everybody should game if they can, but I feel like they're betting the farm on getting people that don't game to game, and they're probably not going to spend a lot of money on the gaming, and yet they're still trying to like more appease them than the hardcore gamer, and I think that's a bit of a problem. Matty B says they got waterfalls in those markets. They're chasing the waterfalls, Matty. That's the problem. They're chasing the waterfalls, and as an Xbox fan, I really just wish that they would kind of focus on what we're doing as fans. I want to see how it works out as Xbox fans, Focus on us for a change. I feel like we deserve it. And I feel like Microsoft, sometimes they don't really understand that. So that's my my problem. Dingo Empire, that's perfect. He says it sounds good to investors. Crap, that's exactly it. Let's see. Torresk says, crap, Xbox is sitting on a gold mine of IPs. There should have been a proper Banjo-Kazooie, Conquer sequel, New Fable, Perfect Dark, etc. Hopefully they bring some of those back soon. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Ask for Chris says, I'm from a third world country and they download everything for free. Yeah, they download stuff, Chris, but would they be able to stream it? Like, word is you need like 10 megabits down to stream some of these games that Xbox has. Is that something you have? Is that something a lot of these countries have? That's what my question, right? So I would just say that's one of the things that I kind of question as an Xbox fan, that they're going after these 2 billion gamers. They keep saying it, 2 billion gamers, 2 billion gamers. Man, if there were 2 billion gamers that were like ready to, ready to game and play these things, then I think that they would already be playing, just in my opinion, I just don't see how people there's ways to get cheaper consoles no matter what country you're in. Like the PS2 was selling recently in other countries as well, because it was finally cheap enough. So I feel like it's kind of a weird excuse that he's using there, you know what I mean? And downloads versus streaming, completely different. I don't see how you could download a full Gears game to the phone and expect, everything to kind of work the way it just does now, So I feel like it is a little bit of a different situation going forward. Leo the says, I'm from a third world country. There's no way game streaming would work here. Yeah, that's a problem. I think Microsoft has to kind of figure out. Mark Albert says, I have 100 down and still buffer. Yeah, I agree, man. Listen, I've got almost 25 to 30 down, but it's all over the place, to be honest with you. Most nights it's 7, 8 megabits or whatever. It's not great. So Shin Sieya, the source's title. Hey, they're both in the description below, my friend. So yeah, I mean, you can let's see. Safian TA says, "Hey crap, I'm from Africa and I turn the quality to 144p so I can listen without a problem." See, that's the problem, and that sucks. You know, I know I complain about my internet because let's be real, the US has some of the worst internet around still. And at the end of the day, we're still kind of lucky because even my internet is better than a lot of these other places. So until these other places have ready internet, I don't think that like this 2 billion gamers is really attainable. I think it's kind of nonsense that some of the stuff that Microsoft talks about. So yeah, I'm not really on board with that. I feel like they should probably focus. I would have felt better if they would have focused on the console and maybe even PC this generation and then branched out to some of this stuff, introduce it as the generation goes on instead of making it such a talking point to start off the generation, because I feel like it's bad. As for Chris says, upload speed is terrible here. I can hardly broadcast gameplay. I can't broadcast gameplay here, my friend. Yeah, my upload speed usually runs under 3, so that's a bit of a problem. Next Doc says, crap, what Phil is ignoring is just like PC gamers are different than console gamers, mobile phone gamers are different than console gamers. This is true. I bring this up. Who the heck wants to play The Witcher 3 on their cell phone at a weird aspect ratio? So I was reading some of the reviews of xCloud at E3, right? And the games, the aspect ratio and the UI and stuff is all out of place. So basically they don't shrink it down because then you wouldn't be able to really play. So you kind of get a screen that has no real aspect ratio. And so you can't really see where you're going a lot of the time. So that's a bit of a problem. And that's going to be something that's probably going to bite him in the butt a little bit, in my opinion. Hawk of Light says, yo, just got here. What's the supposed game studio? Sony? Oh, Remedy Entertainment. So supposedly, it looks like Remedy might be interested in doing something with Sony. Sony's Yoshida was there. They do single player games. Sony does single player games. It's really just a situation where it makes a lot of sense for these companies to work together and sort of branch out and do some things together. And I feel like that's a very smart play for both companies because it's just going to make a lot of sense going forward. So hopefully we'll get some confirmation on that sooner or later, which I did link that in the description if you guys were interested. Same thing with Xbox One sales down year over year. It's kind of surprising because the X just came out in 2018, 2017. Yeah. So the X literally not even 2 years old, I don't think, and already the sales are in the dumpster. Kind of unfortunate because it is an amazing machine, absolutely amazing machine, just such a fantastic console. I honestly can't say enough good things about the X. I wish Microsoft took advantage of it themselves, but the fact that they don't, bit of a kind of sucks or whatever. So as far as I'm concerned, that's just one of those things that we got to deal with as Xbox fans or whatever. So you guys have been really awesome today for just a random just a random kind of podcast that I was doing. So if you guys do have any more questions or whatever, I really do appreciate all the support and stuff like that. You guys have been fantastic. Do you think Microsoft will consider releasing another Left 4 Dead? That's not up to Microsoft. That's up to like Steam. So you have to kind of keep that in mind as well. It really just goes down to what Valve has to do, what Valve says, what they want to do, what they want to share, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's really just comes down to these pretty much what these companies want. But I don't think, since Microsoft doesn't own that IP or anything, it's kind of unfortunate. So we'll kind of see how that works out with the exclusive. I think Microsoft's best bet is to either buy studios that own IP or create brand new IP. Hopefully, I prefer creating brand new IP because that makes the most sense in my opinion. So I would love to see them actually go out there and do that, as opposed to what's been going on right now anyway, which is where they don't have anything much to show. How much a difference would it made if they started with the X and there was no 1 or S? Well, we would have had to pay $700 for a console, I guess. So it would have still stunk. You know what I mean? Create new IP. Exactly. You think Microsoft is going to end up going to up the marketing for next gen, especially with all these new games? I feel like they're going to market Game Pass. I don't feel like they're going to market the next Xbox very much at all. Yeah, Gothwitch says, show Crap some love. Hit that like button. Yes, please do that. Xbox One X is a flop, not because it's not capable. Microsoft set it out to flop at $500 for either money grab or stop the bleeding. Well, Microsoft needed to stop the comparisons to resolution, right? 720p, 900p. They had to stop that stuff. So, and mission accomplished. Since they announced the Xbox One X or Scorpio in 2016 E3, there's nobody talks about resolution anymore. It stopped. So they did accomplish that. You know, the problem is everybody has already owned a PlayStation 4, and the PlayStation 4 Pro already came out. And so anybody that was realistically super interested in any of that kind of stuff, you know, it just kind of is what it is. Patrick Bossum says, with Brad Sam saying no Lockhart, do you think the Scarlett will be 400 or 500? I still think it's going to be 499, same as the Xbox One X, because guess what? The Xbox One X is still 499, and we're only a year and a half away from Scarlett. So I feel like 499 is going to be the point. And I feel like the X will probably be dropped down by $150, $200, and that'll be like the base entry one that Microsoft wants people to kind of get into. Mark Albert says the trouble with Microsoft, they ignore the core that made the brand. 100% agree. On your kill list says, Crap, what do you think about So Shady's opinions on exclusives being the way they do? I think he's an idiot. Listen, Shady's a good guy. He has his own personal opinions about exclusives. I kind of covered this last night and today as well. So I feel like Microsoft does not have great name recognition worldwide. And what I mean by that is outside of the US and UK, nobody cares about Xbox. If you suddenly had a time where you could get Xbox exclusives on PlayStation, nobody would buy an Xbox. Like Microsoft would stop making them very quickly, right? They're still going to make games, right? But who in their right mind, even me, if I could play natively all my Xbox games on PlayStation, plus play all the PlayStation exclusives and the multiplats, why would I buy an Xbox, right? Because it might have a few extra P's or a little crisper or, you know, particles or something. Like, that's not a reason to buy an Xbox. So, you know, and people buy Nintendo platforms for Nintendo games. Exclusives matter tremendously. Every year, every holiday, you can get an Xbox One S for $199 or a PlayStation 4 Slim for $199. Why does the PlayStation 4 Slim always sell out? Because they're always putting games like Uncharted or Spider-Man or God of War in the box with it. And Microsoft, why do their console not sell? I mean, they sell a good number, but why does it not sell as much? Because they don't have as good a game. They're constantly putting older games in there because they don't have anything new. You can't put Halo 5 in 2019 in the box. You know, that's a 5-year-old game at that point. You know, you can't do it. So I feel like Microsoft is really kind of, they're paying the price, you know, for that. So yeah, it's just one of those things that they're kind of stuck with. Let's see. Honest question, Crap. What actually does happen when someone hits the like button? Do they get a total number of views? Doesn't? No, you know what? Just hitting the like button just shows support for the channel. You know, I appreciate it when people do it. You know, I take time out of my my day to kind of interact and do these shows. Do I think the Pro will be $300 on Black Friday? Maybe. Matthew says, Crap Gamer, you know, Xbox was just voted 83rd most recognizable brand in the world. Microsoft number 4, and PlayStation and Nintendo weren't even on that list. Well, tell me this. You look at the worldwide sales of PlayStation and Nintendo consoles throughout the history of consoles, and then go take a look at Microsoft's, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Nobody cares about Xbox outside of the US and UK. Nobody, you know. So I think the poll might be wrong. The developer, Ian Perry, is Remedy Entertainment. I linked it below as well. Does power matter? Well, I guess it matters to some. So, you know, Nintendo Switch is fine, PS4 fine, Xbox One. Well, I mean, I think it really just depends. Yeah, you know what? I do my best to kind of keep it real, keep it out here in these gaming streets. You know, it really just all comes down to sort of the fans and stuff like that. I think you guys are all great. And, you know, like it and share it out. If you haven't subscribed, you know, subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of good stuff. That way you get notified of everything. Which company had more money, Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo? Well, Microsoft as a whole has more money, but I think PlayStation might have a little more leeway in terms of money to spend on stuff because that's what all they have. Basically, that's all Sony has. Paige says, "Crap, I tell you something. I like how you don't limit yourself to one console. Like me, I only have Xbox. I have 3 of them, 360 S's and an X. I want to try Spider-Man and The Last of Us. Hey, those are really good games. I would say don't limit yourself if you can afford it. Go ahead and do what you can and get as many consoles as you can, man. You guys are fantastic. Look, listen, Jersey Finest says Xbox is going to be fine. People letting fanboys get to them. Xbox, quote unquote, will be fine. They're going to continue to make money because they sell services and software. Now, when you talk about Xbox as the console, that's the part where we might have a difference of opinion and in the terms of the word fine, because Microsoft doesn't care if you buy their console. They don't care if you stream their games through xCloud or play them on a PC. They literally do not care, right? And I think that's the part where we kind of get this fine and fine. And I think Red Dragon is a cool guy, man. I'm gonna maybe try to get him in a podcast. I know Mooch can get in touch with him, maybe on Twitter. I think we follow each other, so I'll see if I can DM him and get some of his opinions on some of this Sony stuff because I know he's got some of the same opinions as I do. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'll see what I can do with that as well, man. You guys have been absolutely great. I'll answer 2 more questions and then I'm gonna get the heck out of here. Do you think that without Naughty Dog, Sony would have been much worse position than now? Yes, Naughty Dog probably the best developer going. The fact that you can have such games and um, such games and like Uncharted trilogy or the 4 Uncharted games or Last of Us 1 and 2 and that's amazing. You can't really understate that how important that is. Matthew Esmar, this is interesting. He says, I really could care less if Microsoft stopped selling consoles and put their games on everything as long as I can play any game I want that exists. Sure. I mean, I hear you. I'd just buy a PlayStation at that point as well. Am I going to do a Scarlett giveaway? Maybe. We'll have to see how that works out. We did give away an Xbox One X. So if you guys are fans, man, hit the like button, share it out, hit that bell. You guys are awesome. Yeah, I'm very excited for The Last of Us Part 2 as well. It's a great time to be gamers, man. I'm excited. Hopefully Microsoft listens and kind of gets, there's the Worry Wart. It's like toasters. Everyone makes them. So who cares about exclusives? Worry Wart, I see you, man. Starting trouble, man. Starting trouble like toasters. Get out of here. Get out of here. Out of here, man. Come on. Anyway, you guys have a great day. Please like, share, subscribe, rack them up. We'll catch you next time. Later.